Some places hold stories, others hold secrets. And then there are places where the past refuses to stay silent, a location where footsteps echo, even when no one is there, where a scream ripple across the water long after the world has gone still, and where a single tragedy can stain the soul of the land forever. Tonight, we're stepping onto one of those places, a centuries-old bridge, where people reported hearing whispers in the fog, seeing a figure standing alone at midnight, and feeling a sudden, icy fear that something unseen was watching from the shadows beneath the arch. But none of them knew the truth. None of them knew that the ghostly sightings, the cries in the darkness, and the strange, unsettling encounters were connected to a forgotten murder, one that had gone unsolved for generations, buried in silence, until the bridge's own ghosts forced the world to pay attention again. This is the chilling mystery of the historic bridge that refused to let a killer hide. A story where the dead demanded justice, and the living finally heard them. The old Briarstone Bridge had stood for nearly 200 years, a stone giant stretching over a wide river that once served as the lifeline of a thriving town. It was built with pride, carved by hand, and admired for its strength and beauty. In daylight, it looked like a picturesque landmark, solid, peaceful, timeless. But at night, it transformed into something entirely different. Locals said the air felt colder on the bridge than anywhere else in town. The river below seemed darker, deeper, as if holding secrets in its currents. Travelers told stories of feeling a sudden weight on their shoulders when crossing after dusk, an invisible heaviness that made their breath shorten and their steps quicken. But most mysteriously of all were the reports of a lone figure who appeared in the fog, silent, unmoving, and always staring at the center of the bridge before vanishing into thin air. For years, people whispered about ghosts but shrugged them off as superstition. Towns with long histories often develop legends, and most assumed the sighting were simply the imagination of tired night workers or adventurous teenagers. But everything changed the night Henry Mallard, a local historian, decided to record the strange phenomenon for himself. Henry wasn't the type to believe in ghosts. He believed in facts, timelines, records, and logic. Yet even he couldn't ignore the dozens of accounts that stretched back generations. So one cold autumn night, with a heavy fog rolling in, he walked onto the bridge armed with a recorder, a notepad, and a quiet determination to solve the mystery or prove it false. At first, everything was ordinary. The stone was damp with dew, the air heavy and still. But as he reached the center of the bridge, the temperature dropped suddenly. Not just a cool breeze, an abrupt, unnerving plunge that made his bones ache. The silence thickened, and then the recorder in his pocket picked up some faint, something distant, something like a voice whispering. Henry froze. He knew no one else was on the bridge. He had checked both sides. Yet the whisper grew clearer, a fragmented plea, as if someone struggled to speak through water. He stepped toward the railing and felt a rush of wind behind him, though the air around him remained still. His flashlight flickered, and in the corner of his eye, he saw a figure, pale, unmoving, and half lost in the fog, standing just a few feet away. When he turned to face it, the figure simply wasn't there. Henry left the bridge shaken, but he wasn't frightened as much as intrigued. The historian in him knew that ghosts don't appear without a story, and stories don't exist without a beginning. The next day, he dove into old archives and faded newspapers, searching for any clue tied to the bridge. At first, he found nothing unusual: construction dates, ceremonial photographs, a few minor accidents. But when he dug deeper, into fragile handwritten journal from the 1800s, he found a single, chilling entry that changed everything. It referenced an unnamed incident that happened during the bridge's construction. A disagreement, a disappearance, a warning from workers who refused to continue unless the matter was handled. But the author never elaborated. The entry simply ended with one haunting line: "The river keeps what it is given." Those 7 words were enough to send Henry spiraling into obsession. What had been given to the river? What had been covered up? Why was this incident never recorded officially? As days turned into weeks, Henry uncovered a pattern. Multiple workers from the bridge's construction era had abruptly left town afterward, many refusing to speak about their time there. A few hinted at strange happenings or unsettling nights. Others mentioned hearing cries echo from beneath the stone arch, long after construction was complete. Then came the discovery that truly cracked the mystery open. One of the town's oldest residents, a woman named Eleanor Carter, approached Henry quietly after hearing about his research. In her trembling hands, she held a stack of faded letters passed through generations of her family. Letters that referenced a young worker named Samuel Hart, someone who disappeared during the building of the bridge. Samuel wasn't a criminal nor a troublemaker. He was described as gentle, hardworking, and kind. But one day he vanished without a trace. No body, no explanation. The letter suggested foul play, but without evidence. Samuel was forgotten. Except, not entirely. One letter mentioned a detail that chilled Henry to the core. Samuel was last seen on the bridge at dusk. He looked worried. He said someone had threatened him. He felt unsafe, and then he was gone. Henry now understood why the bridge felt uneasy, why people heard cries, why a figure appeared in the fog. Samuel wasn't a legend. He was real. And whatever had been done to him had been buried for centuries. But this wasn't just a ghost story. It was a murder mystery. Henry returned to the bridge every night for a week. And every night the whispers grew clearer, almost as if the spirit recognized him, trusted him, and wanted him to solve the truth. The recorder picked up fragmented words. Help. Trapped. Water. Beneath. Henry realized the spirit wasn't haunting the bridge. It was crying for justice. One night, as fog swallowed the bridge again, Henry noticed something strange. A small section beneath the arch where the stone surface looked slightly different, newer, almost hatched. He leaned over the railing, shining his flashlight down. The beam revealed a faint engraving, something carved by hand, something no one would ever see unless they looked closely. It was a name, Samuel. Henry's heart pounded. This wasn't a random marking. It was a message left by someone who either knew Samuel's fate or helped bury him literally or figuratively. The next morning, Henry spoke with engineers and preservationists. They confirmed that the stone beneath that arch section had been replaced sometime long before official records existed. The reason? Unknown. No documentation. No explanation. That alone was suspicious. With permission, they removed the patched area carefully, respectfully. Behind it lay a hollow space. Inside that hollow space was a narrow cavity filled with river silt and fragments of old wood. Buried inside, preserved unnervingly well, were human remains. The bridge had indeed been keeping a secret. The skeleton belonged to a young man. Traces of blunt force trauma were visible on the skull. The body showed signs of having been hidden intentionally entombed within the stone before the final layer was sealed. Samuel hadn't disappeared. He had been murdered. And his body had been hidden inside the bridge itself. The revelation shocked the town. Newspapers spread the story like wildfire. Historians revisited old records, and the truth unraveled piece by piece. Samuel had overheard a dispute between two workers' brothers with a violent past. He threatened to report them after discovering they were stealing materials meant for the bridge. They cornered him at dusk, assaulted him, and fearing exposure, decided to silence him permanently. They hid the body in a hollow they had access to, intending to move it later. But the supervisor sealed the arch sooner than expected, trapping Samuel forever. His killers left the region, living their lives without punishment. They died long before the truth resurfaced, but the bridge never forgot. Samuel never stopped calling out. And Henry had finally listened. After the remains were respectfully recovered and buried, Henry visited the bridge one final time. He stood at the center, where he had first heard the whisper. The night was calmer, the fog lighter, the air no longer cold and heavy. For the first time, the bridge felt peaceful. And then, just as Henry turned to leave, he heard a sound, not a whisper this time, but a soft sigh. A release. A goodbye. The figure in the fog never appeared again. The cries beneath the arch ceased. The strange, cold heaviness lifted. The ghostly sightings had never been a haunting. They had been a plea. A plea from a young man whose life had been stolen, whose story had been buried, but whose spirit refused to fade until someone uncovered the truth. And in a way, the bridge itself had become alive, protecting the memory of someone forgotten by time, holding the evidence until the right person came along. Some say the past is silent, but sometimes it speaks in echoes. Sometimes justice arrives centuries late, and sometimes a bridge becomes the only witness to a crime too dark to stay hidden. Thank you for watching Same Sky. If this mystery kept you on the edge, wondering what lies beneath the surface of the world we walk on every day, stay with us. More chilling stories, more forgotten truths, and more secrets waiting to be uncovered are on the way, because some places don't just remember history, they demand it.